Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, representing the fine people from Staten Island and Brooklyn. Congresswoman, always great to see you. What are your thoughts on this bill, kind of the last gasp of the old order before President Donald J. Trump returns to D.C.?
Well, it does what we need it to do, which is avert a government shutdown, keeps the government funded, and it does it for a short period of time. It provides the disaster relief, and it also provides the relief for our farmers to protect our supply chain. And again, this is something that a lot of us advocated for. We were very much against the big bad backroom deal that was not presented to Congress and members on the Republican side. We were expected to just be rubber stamps, and that was unacceptable. But we were able to get exactly what we needed, and it was the basics to continue funding this government until President Trump and the Republican trifecta take office next year. And overall, I mean, it was the best case scenario in the situation that we were in.
You know, to this point, right, I feel like we always get into these fights over the debt limit. I think people often get confused about what the debt limit truly is, right? It is simply us agreeing to pay bills and debts that we have already incurred. It's like the Amex statement that comes after you've blown through all of the money. There are some that advocate for the elimination of the debt limit altogether. What are your thoughts there as we move into this 119th Congress? Do you believe there might be a pathway for us to start doing the accounting of the people's money a little bit differently?
Yeah, so the night before, we actually did vote for a version of this funding bill that did eliminate or eliminate the debt limit, and that was at the request of President Trump, by the way. And it was an understanding that President Biden had spent a lot of money, incurred a lot of debt, and it was going to fall on the shoulders of President Trump to address it. And he would have to lose some leverage to people like Chuck Schumer, who still needs to provide 8 votes in the Senate to increase the debt limit at another time. I was okay with the President Trump's plan. I think it's what we should have done, quite frankly. And we have to also recognize, and we do as a party, that we need to begin cutting wasteful spending and really driving down this debt overall. And the reason is 13% of our federal spending is payments on debt, the interest on this debt. And so we need to get our fiscal house in order. I think we may have different ways of how we achieve that. But at the end of the day, not having this over President Trump's head in the first 6 months of his new administration, I think would have given him and the Republicans leverage. But unfortunately, no Democrats voted for that plan simply because of the reason I say they want to have that leverage over President Trump. And we lost 35 Republican votes. And so we couldn't get that done. So we did the cleanest thing possible yesterday. And we just need to move forward now and look to next year.
Absolutely. Pivoting here a little bit, one of, I think, the unappreciated stories of 2024, the undeniable cognitive decline of one Joseph Robinette Biden. There is the new report from the Wall Street Journal shedding light on just how deep the actual the concealment of that decline really was. People suggesting the House went to incredible lengths to protect his diminished capacity. I would say, of course they did. It was obvious to any and everyone. The man was falling down on stages. He was falling up the steps of Air Force One. And politics aside, he is our commander-in-chief. He's the president of the United States of America. How do we get to the bottom of who knew what and when they knew it, as we try to make sure we can actually figure out who was running the country the last 4 years?
Yeah. Well, I think it's obvious that the vice president and those who were around him in his cabinet knew exactly what was happening here. I don't think that they care. I think that they wanted control of the government, that they wanted, and this was easy, right? It was sort of like a maturing candidate. You had somebody who was there, but really wasn't governing. And the people around him, sadly, made awful decisions that we, the people, are now paying for with this wide open border, with the economic issues that we're facing, high interest rates, and all the other issues like energy prices due to the reduction of leases and permits. Our adversaries took advantage of this. Our allies now are in wars. And we saw a lot of bad things happen over the last 4 years, things that I don't believe would have ever happened if Joe Biden was actually in a normal cognitive state. So I think there were just bad apples within his administration that took advantage of the situation. And I don't know that we need to know who they are at this point. We won the election. We're going to have a Republican trifecta. Let's just go in and fix this mess. We are so fortunate with what we've been given by the American people to have the ability to change the tide in this country and to undo the disastrous policies of this administration with President Trump. And we should absolutely take advantage and get to work immediately and try to be united in this effort, not like what we saw happen this week.
Well, look, if you're going from a guy who was confusing Xi Jinping with Vladimir Putin on a regular basis in an interview with Time magazine, then perhaps, yes, Morning in America with President Trump does, in fact, begin anew on the 20th of January. Congresswoman, always good to see you, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.